I saw this great episode on YouTube. It's once again, it's from that, I guess you could call it a series, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, Sam Hacho. Saw this great episode, episode 5, and he has these celebrity interracial couples on, and I have so much to say. I just finished watching it, and I have so much to say. So real quickly about myself. I don't have a lot of black friends. I grew up in Hawaii. Literally, I think it's about 3% of the population there is black. Or was it 4%? I forget. But most of them are military. So literally, I think in elementary school, maybe I recall one black person. In my middle school, there's probably about over 1,000 kids, maybe 4 black kids. High school, maybe, I know that at least there are 2 brothers. So not a lot of black folks. I saw a little more at my university, but never really. I hear so much about black folks and black culture, and it was really through the TV, and unfortunately sometimes it comes in very specific venues, such as, say, hip-hop music, right, which is, I mean, it's part of it, but you can't say it's all of it. Or Spike Lee movies, again, part of it, it's not all of it. And so it's very important to interact and just have day-to-day understandings of black people and black culture. And also a little about myself. Despite growing up in Hawaii, I did also date several black women. And boy, if you ever want to immerse yourself in understanding black culture and news and issues in their community, date one. Because that's literally all half the time that's what I heard about. So I have some, ideas about this episode. I also have some personal, I guess, experience, but definitely a lot to digest.
Comfortable conversations with a black man.
Okay.
You see, prior to 1960,
now this opener is really amazing. So we have Lindsey Vonn. She's a pro skateboarder. I think she also used to date
probably still makes you
Tiger Woods. Now she's with PK Subban. Black hockey player. They won the Stanley Cup, I think, too. And then there's the girl from The Bachelor, which is, well, I mean, I'm glad she's on here, but it's a trash show. I don't care about it. You may disagree, but I don't like it at all. Alright, so talking about the interracial aspect of it, I think this is a great topic because of, it's not just about, okay, you and I are dating, it's a little different. It also tangents to history. And I might not necessarily say I like that right there, where he doesn't, throw a softball, right? He goes straight for the knees, okay? When I see a black woman dating a white dude, I feel betrayed. Right? Now, he didn't say, I know there's a certain betrayal level. He says, I feel. There's something feeling. And I think that really goes back to a sense of tribalism that we all have built into us. And I think that tribalism also leads to xenophobia. Okay, let me explain.
I never met the guy. But all I see is Rachel picked a guy who is seemingly white.
Let me explain. With tribalism, it's basically we organize ourselves in groups. And the most easy way for us to organize would be, how do you look? What language do you speak? And historically, I mean, if Homo sapiens are what? 200,000 years old? If you believe that, and then this modern era of everybody just hanging around each other, it's not common. It's mostly we're in tribes. If we saw someone else that didn't look like us, we'd have to be worried because are they friend or foe? And you can't, back then you couldn't really say because we didn't even speak the same languages, so you couldn't communicate. So
I
if you
had to say,
can't
you know what, my
communicate,
journey of love can't
what
be
do you have
any
to
different
think?
just because the color of
Foe
my skin
to be
is.
safe.
And people can't
And
judge me
that's
for picking
where
someone who doesn't
tribalism
look
and
like me. Like,
xenophobia
I feel
all
like
come into
they
play.
expect me to pick someone who
In
looks
terms of
just like me,
racism
but
and
that's not fair. They
no,
should
things
just
like
want me to fall in love with whoever it
Hindu,
is that I vibe with.
Islamic
You know, I think
issues,
about this quote, and I was thinking about this yesterday. He
wars
says,
across
if
countries.
the enemy of my
And
enemy is my
this is very interesting what he has to say,
Y'all remember,
because,
if the enemy of
you
my
know,
enemy
one
is
thing
my
I hate
friend,
about the news is that
then
everything
the
they
friend
say
of
is
my
very
enemy
scripted. The friend of my enemy is my... You lost me, bro. I kind of understand,
my enemy.
right?
And I was thinking, historically speaking, white people are the enemy of black people.
But that's a very heavy line right there. White people are the enemy of black people. All right, it's kind of like saying cats and dogs. Well, I heard that too, but I know plenty of cats and dogs that are friends. I think it's more that they aren't, they don't look like each other, so they're wary of animals that don't look like themselves, which applies to people too. But this is a heavy statement, and historically, I don't even think that's true. I think that there is history, but I think better to say that there's xenophobia, and so white people are the enemy of black people. Well, even if it's, you can throw whatever you want. Say, I don't know, okay, I'm Chinese, and say, Serbian. Okay, there's no real history that I know between the two, but if they were to date interracially or be friends with each other, you don't think their parents would have some objections, regardless of the fact that there's no history, there's no enemy of it. And I think it just boils down to people that look different than us, we're going to be wary. And it doesn't even have to be, look, it could be different religion. You could be Asian, but you might be, okay, this person's Korean, this person's Thai. I don't trust these Thai people. I don't trust these Korean people. It doesn't have to be looks. I think that's just a natural part of the human process. So I don't think there's some historical enemy history. I guess it can compound it. I think it's more of it's natural to human beings. Thankfully, I grew up in Hawaii, very diverse place, so to think this person, I'm not gonna hang out with this person, or I'm not gonna date this person, that's just not within my experience. Literally, I did not even grow up around mostly ethnic Chinese people or people that look like me, which helps. Get rid of racism. Yeah, sure. I definitely think it's when we segregate ourselves, or maybe not the best word, seclude ourselves to people that look like us, which a lot of people do, right?
No, I love it.
A lot of people are insular.
I love every moment.
That's when it can kind of create a ground where people are not communicating with each other and start to think of us versus them, which is what tribalism is.
Not everybody's going to be accepting of everything.
Do you not have a
so
problem with the fact that when
yes,
black people are seen with white people,
it is helping
to a degree,
when you mix up. I mean, literally, you have. I remember in elementary school there was
law degree, well spoken. You're with Brian.
I was gonna say. In elementary school, there was a guy named Lu Shang Ah Chong, actually Polynesian dude, alright, much taller. But he was, no, he's actually half Samoan, maybe quarter Chinese, 75% Samoan. That's exactly it. And I think when you have so much ethnic parts in your history, like, if someone were to yell out a racist joke about Chinese people against him, he's gonna say, "Hey, talking about my grandfather, shut up." Right? And it's just what it comes down to. Like, maybe he doesn't know anyone and he'll say something, but once it becomes personal, people are going to feel compelled to speak out. I mean, if you watch the Green Book, which for some reason I've heard some folks don't like, but I thought it was a nice kind of mutual growth between two, I guess, people that are ignorant of the world. But, the guy, Aragorn, he made friends with the doctor, Marshalat Ali, and once he had his friend say something about call him, like a slur for a black person, he said, "Hey, don't call him that. That's my friend now." Whereas before he made friends with them, he just let it slide. So sometimes, making it personal, it's incentivizing us to open up. Say, please don't talk about that person like that, or because this person is my wife, my friend, my grandfather, the love of my life, my children. Okay,
But
now
not-
this,
people look at
going
you
back
like,
to
"Rachel shouldn't
this,
be talking."
so he's
Like,
saying,
she's not even
definitely
I experienced
that
and
tribal
hearing you talk
thinking
about
where,
the way
okay, you
grew
date
up,
within
you probably experienced that your
the
entire
confines
life.
of our
I've always
racial
been told
group.
that I wasn't black enough.
Xenophobia,
I'm not
and
even white. I
xenophobia,
don't
like I
have,
said, that's a
any
human
white in
thing,
my
so
blood.
you're gonna see it across anybody. There's probably grandparents out there,
I am not biracial,
you know,
is what I'm saying. Like,
thinking
I'm a
the same
black
thing,
woman,
like,
and I've
oh, you should
always
date
been told
such and
that I
such.
wasn't black enough
You should date,
because of the way that I grew
our
up,
people.
the experiences that I had.
Again, and that's
so I,
very insular.
To be 100%
That's
honest,
also, and being insular is also
it
the enemy
was
of
something
this
that
sort
I
of
thought
progress and
before I
viewing
came to the
others
Bachelor.
as
Up
part of
until
your
I was
group.
30, I really didn't date seriously outside of my race
And
because I
it's
felt
very
like
tricky, but I
society,
understand
not my
it's a
parents,
feeling.
not
It's
my
not
friends,
logic. It's a
society
feeling.
was telling me
And I
had
think
to
this
date
stems
a
actually
black
back
man.
I got
from
an email
history.
and it pierced my heart.
Oh,
She
there
said,
you go.
"Can you help me? What can I do as a white woman?"
I think it stems from history and just the instinct that when we saw people that didn't look like us, they could have been friendly. They could have been just, our neighbors, but there's also a chance that they were marauders or warlords and that they were gonna come in, and what they're gonna do, they're going to conquer, they're going to kill all the men or imprison them, and then use them for I don't know what purpose. They're going to take the women, they're going to make them slaves or wives or girlfriends or concubines of the new tribe. The children are going to be slaves also. And anybody that lives from our tribe, they're going to become dead or second-class citizens or slaves, POWs, laborers of the new tribe. And I think that's the greatest fear of everybody. And that's inside of us. We don't have to be taught that. It's inside of us. And so when we hear about tribalism and a distrust of people that don't look like us, or even in this case where we see someone dating someone that looks like us and we're thinking, dude, traitor, or why are you with him? I think it's built in, and for Asian folks, I've heard of this too. I mean, I don't know if you know the statistics, but when it comes to, was it OkCupid's study, there's actually a lot of folks, I guess Asian women with preference, preferring white males, and that's a whole nother topic. But then that is a common combination, and for those folks that think, oh, you're a race traitor, you're a Anna Lou, right? An equivalent to an Uncle Tom. I mean, all of that, it's again, looking at yourselves in tribes, not as people, but as a tribe, and you should all stick together, which I understand. I don't view the world that way. But
to be more accepted by
understand, and when you do view things like that, that's when you start saying
I don't know the
you're a
answer
race
to that.
traitor, or why do you have to date
I feel
a
like
white guy,
PK's family,
a white woman,
and,
black guy, black woman,
his friends,
Asian
his family
man,
friends,
Asian
everyone
woman?
has been so accepting of me.
Thankfully, I've never had to
And
come across
I
that.
just try to be kind
I don't
to
share
every
my dating
person
life with
that
my
I meet,
family.
and
I don't know
even
what
if
they would think,
they
but
hate me because I'm
I
like
don't
a
care.
strong black man.
How's that?
I'm still the same person.
I'm,
I know that I'm a good person.
I'm my own
I
man.
know
I
that
grew my own
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
My family did
it
not
does
help
make
raise
sad
me,
because it actually
not really,
sad. It makes me
and
feel extremely guilty
so I could care less what they think.
because I am taking a strong black man.
And now when Lindsey Vonn said that, I'm taking a strong black man away from them. Okay, them. Okay, that goes back into the us versus them. Like, she's part of the white tribe. They're part of the black tribe. She is stealing from them. And if you've read about the topic, it's the concept. or theory, I guess you could say, of white guilt. I just read the book just the other week. Robin something, PhD in sociology, I believe, and race studies. That's what she does for a living. But it's a very tricky thing. I only agree with it 50%. And again, if you view the world in just we're all groups, tribes, it's true. If you view yourselves as individuals that can align with anybody, different folks that don't look like you, that we are individuals responsible for what we do in life, then statements like this make no sense. And that's very important. She obviously buys into the white guilt. White fragility, sorry, that's the term. And so she's saying she's taking a strong black man away from them. Okay, because I've heard the same thing about Michael B. Jordan, right? If they're handsome or wealthy or successful, that's like their prize, and they want to keep it within their tribe. And so someone taking away is they're stealing the best of their tribe. And again, that's tribal thinking. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in race traitors. I understand why someone would, but I don't agree with it. So that's what she says. I think it's a very interesting response. I mean, I should not be penalized that. But you shouldn't, because you are an individual, and basically there's no, he doesn't owe anything to the black tribe. He is an individual and he can make his choices.
If the only reason she's not accepted is because she's with a black man.
There's nothing you could do. And what you said like hit me when you said you feel guilty.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't feel guilty for loving who you love.
And so what she said, the Bachelorette, is we have individual choices, and they don't have to do with our tribe. There are tribal thinking folks out there. I think China historically has been a very, well, not tribal, communal. Still the same thing, but your decisions should also reflect well on your parents. And your parents should have a strong opinion on who you marry. And so that's an example of when you're more thinking about the tribe rather than the individual, which is what we do here in America. Okay. But I think the tribal thinking is built in to us because we naturally congregate as tribes.
I remember the first time I dated outside the race. It wasn't serious before The Bachelorette.
Okay, what does The Bachelor say? Bachelorette.
Every black man was looking
there
at
she
me
goes.
like, oh, there she
Yeah, and
goes.
I understand it because it's also it's a hurt. Because I understand it. I mean, I didn't have a lot of success dating, and so sometimes
I actually had
Chris Rock actually said it best. He said, when I see a fine black woman with a woman, I'm thinking, damn, what do I got to do to get with you? But when I see an ugly black woman with a white man, I say, thanks. We're not sure what we're gonna do with her. And that resonates. By the way, Chris Rock is just one of the most intelligent comedians out there, and I understand everything he says.
When I was in college as a college
It feels like
if there was ever
you're
a black
losing
man
out.
dating
It's a
white-
feeling. Sam
white girl,
Archer said in the
a white
beginning.
woman, it would be said, oh, you're with the master's daughter.
And
Like, oh,
okay, so now
you're
he's
like the
stirring up
slave
history
master's
again with the
daughter. Kind of
master's
as if
daughter.
that
That's
was the
so
black man's
problematic.
way
The
to
master.
whip
I guess
the master back,
I guess
right? Like
maybe
the white man is in
within
the king in his,
some of
in
the
his
folks,
palace, and
because
he
they know the
can't
history,
let
they
that
know
man do
that
anything
if they
to touch
date a
the
black
white man
woman,
in society.
they might be getting a one-up.
Something
It's
to
like a
collide with, to be a
historical
princess.
ancestral
Don't you
cuckolding
think
or
that-
something.
And what would you
But
say
that's,
to the black people
I don't know anything
who
about
have the
that.
ideology
And
of kind of like, you're with,
also,
you're
it's
still
important
with-
to note this one thing. I know he's saying traitor and enemy and all that. It's very important to note that not all white people had slaves. Slaves were very regional, and they mainly stood to benefit certain folks that owned the areas. Okay. Also, there are many white countries that,
Well, I would say that
did not participate
those
in
people
that.
are searching for something, and I found it. And it's
Also
happiness.
important to note that there are slave owners of various colors. South America had about 2/3 of those slaves from West Africa, and also in West Africa there were slaves to West African warlords. Right? That's where they came from. They were particularly POWs.
I would be remiss not to.
I think that fact of history is lost on most people. I can see why, but it's very important to know that because it helps you better understand not just maybe our history in this country, but human history is just full of people mistreating other people. Romans had slaves. Where did the slaves come from? Conquered countries. Hispania, the Gauls, Britons, Egypt, I think, Northern Africa. Slaves, okay? Geez, what else? Indians were slaves. A lot of people were slaves. And it's a human thing to mistreat people based on them looking different, them being different, that tribal mindset.
One email that I received.
Okay. So that's really the end of the video. I think also it's very important, I'll go back a bit, that PJ Subban here says,
change in one ways and not the other way. Us as a black culture are talking about changing. Well, you can't want change in one ways.
Let's not think so insular, like if you're white you have this sort of, I like what he said, you have an obligation to be open-minded. And he says, he's trying to say this, you know, hey, that's for everybody.
This is a human rights issue.
Only white people have to be open? No, everybody. She like that. Well said, PJ.
There was one email that I received and I responded.
That's
to it and I said, I promise I will get it.
I don't know what it's.
He said, EMMANUEL,
a goal in hockey.
Love
you know, football has touchdowns and basketball has a, you know, field goal. I don't know what it's called. Goal in hockey. That's a goal, PJ. A goal with your girlfriend. Yeah, and it's very true. Everything that they've talked about, and I've mentioned, it's everybody. Despite what history shows, everybody has not a duty, not an obligation, but we should, for our fellow man in our integrated society, be more open-minded and be more tolerant and be aware of these feelings and these topics, so it doesn't creep up on you and then some racist stuff just comes out randomly. Okay, it doesn't mean you have to go out and, you know, find someone that doesn't look like you and date them. I'm fine with that, but be open-minded, be tolerant. If you're not open-minded, be tolerant, be accepting that other people are going to live differently. Okay, that is the entire video. Take care.